In this video, I'm going to explain how to convert a fraction into a percentage. Firstly, we're going to do it without a calculator, and then I'll show you how to do it with a calculator at the end. So if you got 13 out of 25 in a test, you would just write this as a fraction, and then say to yourself, a percent is out of 100, so how do I get from 25 to 100? So we're going to draw up another fraction to the side and say to yourself, 25 times what makes 100? If we times that by 4, we get 100. So all we'll have to do with 13 is times it by 4 as well. Okay, if you don't know what 13 times 4 is in your head, that's totally fine. Just do a little multiplication over at the side. When you multiply 13 by 4, you'll end up with 52. And because percent means out of 100, if the answer is 52 out of 100, you will just write 52%. Okay, so start with a fraction. Make another equivalent fraction with a denominator of 100. And whatever you do to the bottom, you must do to the top. So if you times the bottom by 4, you must times the top by 4 as well. And whatever the numerator is, that'll be equivalent to your percentage. Okay, here's another example. So 7 out of 10, you would just write it as 7/10. And then you would make an equivalent fraction with 100 on the bottom. So how do you get from 10 to 100? Multiply by 10. So we'll have to do the same with the 7. 7 times 10 is 70. So the answer would be 70%. So just write it as a fraction. Then we had to look at the denominator and decide that we have to multiply that by 10 to make 100. So do the same to the top. And 70 over 100 is equivalent to 70%. Okay, if you're allowed to use a calculator for this one, we would still start it off the same way. We can just write it as a fraction. So 38 over 42. But instead of putting equivalent to something over 100, we're going to times it by 100. And that will give us our percentage. So some of you will know where there's a fraction button on your calculator, but if you don't, all you do is type in 38 divided by 42 times 100. And that will give you your answer. Now, when you type it in, you're going to get 90.476 and some extra decimals after that. When that happens, I want you to give me the answer correct to one decimal place. So after the decimal point, we've got the number 4. Will we keep that as a 4 or will we round it up to a 5? To figure that out, you need to check the number that's immediately following. So you need to check the 7. Is the 7 a big number? It's a big number if it's 5 or higher. So yes, it's a big number. We're going to have to round up. So the answer would be 90.5%. So when you get lots of decimals, just round it up to one decimal place. Okay, here's another one. So 52 out of 60. If you were allowed a calculator, 52 over 60 times 100. So you would just divide 52 by 60. Or you can use your fraction button if you know how to type that in as a fraction straight away. Times 100. And we get 86.666. And that keeps on going. So to one decimal place, that would be 86.7%. Because the 6 is followed by a large number. So make sure you round up. You don't always have to round up. If it was followed by a 4 or smaller, you would keep it as a 6. So if it was 86.64, you would write it as 86.6%. Okay? And the reason you times it by 100 is because it's a fraction of 100 when you're trying to find a percent. So that's how you would do it if you were allowed a calculator.